YouTube, welcome back. Today I'll be going over everything you need to know about our resident spy gambler mommy, Yelan. I'll be going over everything including her talents, her playstyles, her best weapons, her best artifacts, her constellations, her teams, and at the end of the video I'll be doing a showcase. So if you do enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all right now.
Osmanthus wine.
Yelan is a very powerful burst DPS with a nice dash and a decent charge attack. Yelan has pure HP scaling. This means she does not need attack or defense at all, but also means she receives no benefit from Bennett buff. Yelan's Elemental Burst, Depth Clarion Dice. Yelan summons a little die that follows the active character and procs a 3-hit burst of Hydro damage every second when you use normal attacks. Note that normal attacks do not need to hit the target or target the enemy in order to fire off the burst. Yelan's skill will also activate the die once towards the nearest enemy when you deal damage with it. It has standard ICD rules of 2.5 seconds for every elemental application, meaning every wave of damage her ult deals will apply Hydro at least one time. This is very powerful for Pyro DPS characters. Note that this has trouble keeping up with characters like Hu Tao due to their intense attack speed. Her C2 will increase her Hydro application consistency by 17% by adding a 4th hit to each wave of Hydro damage, meaning it is much more capable of keeping up with Hu Tao. At level 13, the damage output for this skill is 31.05% max HP per wave. As her burst can have a maximum of 15 waves, this equals out to 465.75 max HP, and this will scale with Hydro or crit damage. This ability is above average in strength. It's got a 15-second uptime with an 18-second cooldown and 70 energy cost, meaning her burst has very good rotation. Most bursts that last this long have an energy cost of 80, meaning that Yelan has an advantage when it comes to rotation, especially with a double Hydro team. This will reduce her overall energy recharge requirements. Yelan's elemental skill, Lingering Lifeline. When you tap or hold this ability, Yelan will go into a dash for a certain period of time. During this time, she'll be faster and will wrap enemies with her lifeline. Note that she can take damage during this time, and the skill has no iframes. She does gain interruption resistance and does not use stamina while using this ability, making it very useful for overworld traversal. When the skill ends, any enemy trapped by the lifeline will explode, dealing massive single-target Hydro damage. It will generate 3 to 4 Hydro energy particles and has a 34% chance per enemy to reset her charge attack. If you hit 3 enemies with this ability, she will gain her charge attack. 2 or less enemies and it's up to RNG. As we know, RNG is very unreliable, so I wouldn't make a habit of charge attacking after every E. The cooldown begins after she ends her E and is 10 seconds. At level 13, this ability has a 48.1 HP scaling multiplier. This is the biggest single damage nuke of her entire kit. For most situations, you'll just be using a tap E. However, if you want to trap more than just a couple enemies, you'll need to hold E and manually pilot Yelan around the battlefield for those 3 seconds. Alternatively, you could use E, right-click, or space to cancel the ability. Normal and charge attack. None of the percentages here matter, except for the Breakthrough Barb damage. These Breakthrough Barbs are HP scaling small AoE damage nukes that will recharge after 5 seconds out of combat or proccing the Lingering Lifeline passive. You can tell when the Breakthrough Barb is ready because Yelan's Apple Watch will glow blue. They decrease charge time by 60%. You'll really only be using these from her E when she's in combat, or if you have her 6th constellation. For C5 and below, you can lead with this ability for the Hydro application. As for passive talents, Yelan's A1 passive will give Yelan an HP boost depending on how many different elements are in the party. Note that Hydro Resonance will increase HP by 25% versus the 12% the final element will give you. Her A4 passive will increase character damage every second Yelan's burst is active for a max of 50%. This damage is non-snapshotable. For talent priority, any Yelan below C6 should level her ult first, then her skill, then her normal and charge attack if you want to level those, although it's not completely necessary. Leveling these talents only increases the HP scaling of her kit, as expected. For a C6 Yelan, her normal and charge attack damage and her burst will be the priority talents. Now, Yelan's playstyle. Yelan's playstyle is one of the most fun in the game in my opinion. For C0, you can either choose to dash before using her ult. Using it before will allow you to generate energy as she is doing her burst animation, but after will allow you to proc her burst for a little bit of extra DPS. For C1 to C5, the optimal strategy will be skill, burst, skill, as this will utilize both versions of her C0 playstyle. You can also just use her skill whenever it's up after the initial combo. Again, breakthrough barbs should only be used to lead. For based C6 havers, the combo will be skill, burst, skill into 5 normal attacks, then swap to the next DPS in the party. Now, as for Yelan's best stats, currently my stats are as follows. My Yelan has 42,000 max HP with the Hydro Resonance and the different elemental party buff, and she has 72% crit rate, 246 crit damage, 140 energy recharge, which is a little bit low. However, I do have C1, which makes that pretty good. Now, as for best stat priority, I recommend that your HP is at least 25k with no team members. I recommend that she has 70% crit rate and 140% crit damage, 200% with her signature weapon, Aqua Simulacra. Without C1, she should have 150 energy recharge at a minimum. 180% is recommended, though. This can be lower if you have C1. Since Yelan scales off of HP, I recommend ascending her to level 90 so you can receive her maximum HP. As for Yelan's best weapon, obviously her signature Aqua Simulacra is her best in slot. It offers an extremely high crit damage value while also boosting her HP and her damage even when she is not on field. Elegy for the End is also a very nice 5-star option, especially for vaporized comps. I do not have this bow, but it is a very, very nice option. Skyward Harp is also not a bad option, although it is definitely not her best. As for free-to-play options, Favonius Warbow will be her best as it offers very good energy recharge, and it will generate energy for her and her team. There is a 3-star bow that works as well called the Recurve Bow. This has a substat of HP percent, but it is a 3-star bow, so it is only really used for beginners. Now, as for Yelan's artifacts, it shouldn't be a surprise that Emblem is the best in slot for a C0 to C5 build. The energy recharge along with the extra burst damage cannot be understated. For C6ers, you can run 4-piece Emblem or a combination of 2-piece sets. Personally, I use 2-piece Tenacity and 2-piece Heart of Depth. As for stats, the main stat you want for a C0 R1 to 5 Aqua Simulacra, on the timepiece, you're going to want energy recharge. I have HP because I have a C1 Yelan. For the cup, Hydro damage bonus or HP percent, and for the crown, you want crit or HP percent. Note that you should not have 2 HP artifacts on at a single time for Yelan. C1 to C6 with an R1 to R5 Aqua, timepiece will be HP percent. The cup will be Hydro damage bonus or HP percent, and the crown again will be crit or HP percent. Again, you should not have 2 HP artifacts at the same time. As for substats, Yelan wants crit, energy recharge, HP percent, and flat HP. These are all useful, flat HP being, of course, the least useful of the bunch. Now, for Yelan's Constellations, C1 will grant you an extra charge of her E, Lingering Lifeline. This con is good for multiple reasons. 1, it increases her overall damage. 2, it reduces energy recharge requirements to below 160, meaning more free space for other stats. Yelan's C2. Yelan's C2 will make it so each 2 waves of her burst now hits 7 times instead of 6. This increases her hydro application consistency by 17% and makes her very, very usable on Hu Tao. And it increases her burst damage by 20 to 30%. C3, and C5 are just basic level ups to talents. C3, the earlier constellation, will level up her burst. Now, C4 boosts the team's HP by 10% for every enemy hit by Lingering Lifeline for a max of 40% extra HP. It's not as effective against less than 4 enemies at a time, but it is still a pretty useful constellation. Now, Yelan's C6. The Yelan's C6 will make her next 5 auto attacks Breakthrough Barbs. These Breakthrough Barbs will deal 156% damage compared to a normal Breakthrough Barb. Normal attack matters for this constellation because these Breakthrough Barbs are considered charge attack damage, not burst damage. Yelan's constellations are some of the best in the game and are extremely valuable if you have the means for them. Obviously, I do not recommend spending thousands of dollars on a C6. However, you can if you would like to. Let's get into Yelan's team comps. Her being a burst DPS means that she's applicable to almost every situation Xingqiu is useful in. She works well for Taser, Vape, and National comps. For Freeze, you will need to use auto attacks for her burst to proc, so Ganyu is pretty much out of the picture here. It does work well with Ayaka though. Yoimiya pairs very nicely with Yelan as a Vape companion. Hu Tao is also a good choice, but C2 Yelan is recommended as Hu Tao can move too fast for a lower constellation Yelan. I recommend putting Xingqiu along with Yelan in this comp for double Hydro. The last slot is very flexible. You can have Zhongli for shielding, Kazuha for buff or debuff, or if you want to, you could go Xianling for a nice double Vape comp. For Taser comps, Sucrose and Fischl or Kazuha and Fischl are her best options. Beto or Raiden could also work for a good Taser comp. For national teams, you'll just be swapping out Xingqiu for Yelan. Another combo that could work is Mono Hydro. This is much more valuable with the C6 Yelan though. For this team, Ayato, Mona, Xingqiu, Kokomi, or Nilou can be good options. Yelan can be used in a ton of scenarios, and she is an extremely valuable unit. I would not pass on her rerun if you get the chance. So, now will be the showcase portion of the video. This is where I will be showcasing a couple different Yelan teams, and hopefully you enjoy. I'll see y'all at the end of the video. So, if you did enjoy that video, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will talk to y'all in the next one.